Hello and good day and welcome to Family Life, a Catholic Vision. We are so happy to have you here, and tonight's show is going to be a show that is very informational and it's going to be all about natural family planning. Now, to start tonight's show, we'll be having a Skype meeting with Dominic and Lisa Price. And I will introduce them shortly if they're not already on your screen, but I will introduce them shortly. But we just want to thank you for tuning in to us and always knowing that on 8 p.m. you're always here and present to see what new we have here on Family Life, a Catholic Vision. So let me not keep you any longer. Let me tell you the theme. We are dealing with Billings' ovulation method, the healthier lifestyle. And we have one Skype session with you, and then we have some guests in the studio that will help you to get to know Billings on a more personal, more personal relationship with Billings. You'll be able to hear the myths and the facts about Billings and, you know, the effectiveness of Billings, even the challenges that a couple that have been practicing Billings for a very long time may have encountered, but they stayed true to the method. So let's begin tonight's show with meeting Lisa and Dominic Price. How are you? Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having us on this morning.
Well, I know that it's like 7 o'clock where you are right now, 7 a.m. Yes, if I sound correct. So thank you for waking up early and giving us the opportunity to do this. So let's get down into it. So can you give me a little background into Dominic and Lisa Price?
Sure. Well, we've been married for a little over 10 years. Last year, August, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And we have 3 beautiful kids, Jada, Joseph, and Levi. They are 8, 5, and 2. And we've been practicing Billings throughout our marriage. And shortly after the birth of my first, I became accredited as a teacher of the Billings ovulation method. And it's really been something that we teach together and witness to together. Every presentation that I give, Dominic is there by my side. I make it a policy that he be there as well too. So in a nutshell, that's us.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So you wrote an article titled Confessions of an NFP Advocate. I have to admit it was a very fantastic article. I read it and it made Billings so relatable to me as a young person. And of course, I just got married, so you know, I shared it with my husband and we were able to connect with the article. So if you want to read that article, you can Google Confessions of an NFP Advocate and you will get it. But out of that article, Lisa and Dominic, you mentioned that NFP is a way of life. Can you elaborate on this?
Sure. Well, first off, I want to say that, you know what, I think many people, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure this is the case with many who you are first introduced to the method, and you might embark on a journey of using the method based on its uses, right? So, you know, monitoring your reproductive health, achieving pregnancy, postponing pregnancy. So we definitely were introduced to it and saw it as a method of natural family planning, a way to plan our family naturally. But over time, as we began to encounter the method, I mean, really encounter the method, it started to teach me things about myself, about my identity as a woman, that I am a fertile being. You know, we say we're created in the image and likeness of God. And what exactly does that mean? You know, for some who may not be religious, you know, it's part of our identity is that we are fertile beings. We have this capacity to procreate and to bring forth life. And NFP really put me in tune with that aspect of myself, where it recognized my unique rhythm and cycle, and also distinguished me from males, because as you know, women, our fertility is cyclical. It's not like men where it's constant, you know.
Yeah.
So over time, I would say that NFP really became a part of our lives. It was not off in some corner where we just draw on it when we need it. No, this was something that just ran in the background. It was always there, always present. I had to learn things about myself. It taught me things about myself. And, you know, in life changes constantly. The pace of it is so fast. You know, you go into marriage with one idea of what your life is going to be like, how many children you're going to have, and then things happen. You know, with my first, I had a C-section, which was I never planned on, and of course you're advised to wait a while before having more children. We wanted a big family, but here we were confronted with a reality, a very serious reality, and Billings was there for us. You know, we've moved country, pregnant with our second, and Billings has been there throughout so many different seasons of our life, whether it was achieving pregnancy, having to avoid pregnancy, and also showing that there may have been things that we need to pay attention to medically, you know.
Yes. So. Well, thank you for sharing that. You know, upon reading your article, and, you know, you did share a little bit of that in your article, I realized that, you know, doing my research and stuff like that, NFP has to become, and this is how I understand it, has to become like your habits. It has to become something that you live. And, you know, I mean, charting is one thing, but, you know, you're living it. Just like you'll get up in the morning and you'll say, it's time for me to eat, it's time for me to bathe and stuff like that. NFP becomes sort of like your routine. And it's a good routine to have, because in the process, as everything else is, you get to know yourself better. And then when you get to know yourself better, your spouse gets to know you in a way that you just never thought you would have encountered. You know, so I have to admit that, you know, when I did the research, and I'm so happy that I was able to do such a topic and get to learn different things, because I've never seen NFP as being a way of life. And that really brought it home to being personal, you know. So, which brings me to the other question, you know, because I said, you know, when you're able to make this a part of your life, you don't exist by yourself when you're married anymore. You have someone there with you. So, you know, you and your husband make this a way of life. So in your article, you shared that it brought you closer to your husband. But I want to know from both of you, you know, yes, Dominic, calling you out now. How did NFP really bring you close to each other, you know?
Oh, that's very easy. So the only way to live NFP is you have to have an open conversation about fertility on a daily basis. I mean, as Lisa mentioned, you know, she cycles. So there's certain times that she's fertile and certain times that she's infertile, and that's something that I have to relate to. You know, so in terms of understanding how we're going to live out our sexuality today, in this moment right now, that's a key piece of information. You know, if you're trying to achieve pregnancy, you know, or you're trying to avoid pregnancy, to know exactly what you'd like to do and what the conditions are right now are two critical elements. So in terms of being able to know my wife, what that does is that opens up a conversation between you and her where we share information about what she's seeing on a daily basis. And because we are sharing that information, I know where she is in every day, every moment of that cycle, because it's important to me. I pay attention, and it impacts the way I act. So knowing that is a critical piece to me. And it's not the kind of conversation that you share with the random person whilst you're maybe on the bus traveling down the road or in the maxi. That's not the kind of conversation you have. So because of that, you know, I get to know her in a way that's intimate and very unique that nobody else can sort of relate to. And it's a sort of a language and a bit of an understanding that we share that nobody else sort of penetrates into, because it's between us completely. You know, I make a joke sometimes. Sometimes she's a little bit edgy, and I kind of know why. Yeah, you know. This is what goes on. You know? This is the reality of her cycle. So sometimes, like, you know, I can see these things come in because I know, because we're having this conversation, I know the biology. I know what's going to happen. I've seen the hormonal interaction on her and how it affects her and how she shifts essentially into almost different people sometimes.
Yes,
yeah?
I can agree.
Yeah. So, it's, I would say from that perspective of we know her and that level of intimacy where we relate on a different level, I think it is really where we really come to know each other a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Right. And Lisa?
Yeah, well, for me, being known and being seen by my husband, what he talks about, those changes, this is going on at a biological level. This is bigger than who we are. We have no control over it. But the reality is that these hormones do affect our emotions, our mood, our behavior. We don't mean to be always like this, but that's exactly how it is. And whereas men are constant,
Constant.
So I feel like I'm seen, And as I mentioned in response to the last question, fertility, it's part of my identity, and natural family planning has allowed me to remain who I am.
Yes.
But also to say to my husband, this is me, how refreshing it would be for women to be so in tune that they could say, me, this is what goes on, and explain to your husband, because they don't experience it. So it's really created some great conversations. And, as I said, it's not just menstruation. Yes, we're very familiar with that, but there's subtle changes going on throughout that cycle. And it really has brought us close. I really feel understood and loved and made space for.
Well, it's so funny, Dominic said intimacy, a certain level of intimacy. And I always remember someone telling me, when you get married, there's a certain level of intimacy that you develop with your husband, and it's into me you see. Right? Yeah. So it's that concept of, when it is you decided to take this path, that you have to be open to look within myself, changes, hormonal changes, development changes, emotional changes, and be able to love and accept that for who I am, right? So I always remember into you I see, and it's, NFP really is building a level of intimacy with your spouse that you just can't experience elsewhere. So, yes, that sounds really good and helpful, and it brings you to a place of love. But Dominic, there was one thing that from the article, this article brought up a lot of questions to me, and I was so happy that I read it. And she shared that, NFP lifestyle has not always been an easy one. There have been some challenging times. And Dominic, from the husband point of view, can you share how it has been challenging for you as a husband, as a man, and how you have overcome these challenges?
Sure. So, that word challenging, I think when Lisa wrote it, is meant in the strongest and most positive ways. To build a muscle in a gym is a challenging thing. You got to work, and it takes time, and it doesn't happen easily, and sometimes it's difficult and painful.
Yes.
You got to learn to do it. Yeah. But eventually, as you continue to build that strength and capacity, you get that muscle memory and that capacity and your ability to do something. So the challenge, I think, I would say from my perspective, is the challenge of being able to widen your perspective so that you relate to an other that's completely different to you. So as Lisa mentioned, her fertility cycles, but mine isn't. I am always on. I am always fertile. I am always, in a certain sense, ready. Yeah.
Yes.
But I now have to relate to a person that is not, that cycles, that sometimes is, sometimes isn't. Yes. So my desires and my drive and what's going on my side is not necessarily reflected of what's going on her side, but I have to relate to it. I got to interact with it. And sometimes it's that widening of your perspective, so that your concern and your love is not just for you, but your love is for your other as well too. This person that you vowed to take care of and look after and be with and to journey with through the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You now have to widen that perspective, so it's more than just you. And that's the difficult part, because you're learning to now relate to something that's completely different that you've never really had to encounter before. Mm-hmm. And that learning is where I would say the challenge comes in, but challenge in a really good sort of a way. Yeah, it's a growth thing. Yeah.
Growth.
as for how that's done, it's done slowly and it's done daily and it's done sometimes really well and sometimes not so well. But there's a certain honesty where you got to enter and say, okay, this is where I'm at and this is what I'm able to do right now. And then that sharing, I'm saying, okay, this is, recognize me in this way and what I'm going through, yeah? So yes, I have to learn and be open and relate to you, but you also have to be, responsive to me as well too, and to pay attention to what I'm going through. That honest conversation,
yes.
That clarity and that, but it's all very good and very positive and nothing more than what the gospel calls for of love of neighbor. Of course, not every neighbor you're going after is your wife you're talking about here. But that sense of loving an other who is not you, but being able to relate to that well.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that I've always said, men are always ready, but women are, yes, obviously on a cycle, and they are not always as ready as a man. And how do men deal with that? Like, what are the different things that men can do, to really okay, my wife, now it's not a good time. We want to postpone a pregnancy. Now it's not, what can I do? How can I make myself busy? I'm going to garden right now. All right, I'm going to leave the house. I'm going to take kids for a drive, because now is not the time to have a baby. So thank you for sharing that information. I'm sure all the men that are outside there, all the young couples that are outside there listening, you are not alone on this journey. There have other people out there that have been where you have been, and there's always ways that you could figure out and get to know that person that you have decided to spend the rest of your life with, And Dominic, as he shared just now, it's just really being and understanding and being honest. We have to be honest in marriage in order for us to really see each other eye to eye. So I realized that, you said, she may be fertile, but now it's not the right time to have, now it's not the right time for us to engage. So we will abstain. Right? Well, I jumped the gun there. Abstinence comes up when it is you are postponing a pregnancy. So my question is NFP involves some sort of abstinence when avoiding or postponing a pregnancy? Has abstinence been a challenge for you both? Now that is as honest as it gets. Yes. Lisa, Dominic?
I'll let you go ahead.
I would, there's a passage in scripture that I love. I believe it's Ephesians. No, Ecclesiastes, sorry. For everything there is a season. And, I think the idea of abstinence sometimes is a lot more challenging than what it actually is. Because, as you start to enter into marriage, you realize that your life becomes very full and very rich, and there's so many layers and aspects of your life. So abstinence it's a daily part of our reality, and quite often, I hear people, or they're like if we give our presentations or prep or whatever, people have this question in their mind, and sometimes they will ask it and sometimes they won't, about spontaneity. Is that going to kill the spontaneity in our marriage, right?
Yes.
And I say no, because I think NFP makes your relationship, especially your sexual relationship, that aspect of your life, so much more intentional and meaningful. The times when you cannot be together in that way, there's so many other opportunities to still be together and grow in intimacy, sitting down and talking. Women love to talk and chat, and you grow in different ways, but you're still learning about each other throughout, and then the times that you can be together, you look forward to those times, and it becomes more meaningful, more deliberate. We talk about what's become very popular is this idea of mindfulness. It's not something that's just kind of on the back burner. And I think sometimes when it comes to the word spontaneity, we have to be a little bit careful, because it can become a bit of an afterthought. If it's always only ever spontaneous, it can get forgotten, Whereas I think NFP really puts you in that mindset of this is something important, and we make space for it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd say abstinence, it can be a challenge, but I think your mindset will affect how you approach it.
Yes. And Dominic, you would like to share on that?
Well, I mean, just kind of following along the thought of abstinence is certainly within your reach. I mean, as far as I can tell, you're doing it right now. So it's not something that's kind of, out of what your normal realm is of functioning on a daily basis. And the reality is that abstinence, it doesn't always cycle related. I mean, sometimes it's just normal life. Sometimes somebody's ill, and abstinence is necessary. Sometimes sometimes the in-laws are over and they have thin walls. Yeah. Sometimes, the different things you got to go through in life, that's all very normal. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that abstinence is sort of a too far beyond your reach as something you can't access at all. And, for the majority of your lives, from the time you're born until you become, sexually active and so on, there's a lot of abstinence going on there. So it's not something that's different to what your normal functioning is. I think the good thing about abstinence, I think, is worth mentioning as well too, is that the plus side to abstinence is also that sense of longing. Yes. If you have cheesecake every day, cheesecake can get kind of boring sometimes. Yeah. But the reality is, you kind of say, you know what? We give up chocolate for Lent, or we give up cheesecake for Lent, and you're kind of looking forward to that date when Lent ends, and you say, right, now, it has that possibility of sort of putting a pause, yeah? And I think that pause is really good because it helps you to distill your desire,
right,
to figure out what's going on in your heart,
Yes.
Is this heart something that's, interested in her or just interested in her body?
Wow, yes.
Is it heart that's something that's interested in communion, or is the heart interested in climax?
Yeah.
What in your heart, and to have that pause when you have to actually think about yourself and to put yourself on pause and to consider the other really gives you a moment to kind of consider what's going on in you. Yes. To be able to know when that time comes to relate even more so, to even be more present and more conscious and more deliberate and more mindful in the act as well too.
Okay, wow, that is quite refreshing. Like, honestly, Dominic, your honesty is, I have to say, very refreshing and very relatable too. I really appreciate how real, y'all are both bringing it across, because, as young married couples and stuff like that, the connection between the cheesecake and the desire, yes, I'm sure a lot of young people who are watching the show right now could definitely relate to that. So as we, Lisa's like, yes. So I just want to thank you for being able to join us on the show. Your information, thank you for sharing, thank you for being so open, and thank you for waking up at 7, waking up prior, because of course they had to get the kids ready, then to get on the show. So thank you for meeting us at 7 a.m. this morning. We just want to wish you all the best, and if there's, hopefully there will be another show where you could come on and we can, get into NFP a little bit more. That would be so great. So just want to tell you thanks. And we hope that, we're going into the second segment of the show now. So we are going to go, to a short little break, and we will say our goodbyes after. So as we go to our short little break, we just want to say bye to Lisa and Dominic and thank them again. And let's go to our break.
Come and experience hope and healing for individuals, families and friends affected by difficult pregnancy, pregnancy loss, infertility. Tuesday, May 8th, 2018 at Our Lady of Perpetual Help, San Fernando, with Chief Celebrant Father Martin Sergio. 5 p.m. confessions available, 6 p.m. Holy Mass. And on Thursday, May 10th, 2018 at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception with Chief Celebrant Archbishop Jason Gordon. 4 p.m. confessions available and 5 p.m. Holy Mass. Hope and healing video and items on sale before both Masses. Call 384-1659 for more information.
And welcome back. You're tuning into Family Life, a Catholic Vision. And of course, if you were tuning in before, you would have seen we had an interview, a Skype interview with Dominic and Lisa Price, who are NFP teachers where they're at, which is in Canada. And they were able to join us and share some information about Billings, as you would have seen. But if you're now tuning in, we have, don't worry, we have Pauline, Joan, and Dr. Joseph Ryan with us tonight. And they're here to give us live information as well about Billings. So let's move into our second segment. So audience, tonight we're going to do a myth versus fact segment. So Pauline is going to share with us 3 myths about Billings, and she's going to give us the facts. So Pauline, what's the first myth on Billings?
Well, Billings, for people to just understand what Billings is, first and foremost, it's a natural way to achieve pregnancy, postpone pregnancy, to monitor reproductive health. But people, as soon as they hear natural method, they come with some dispositions and assumptions.
Yes.
So the first myth, well, it is the rhythm method, it's the calendar method, the counting, or the temperature method. That's the first myth. That's what people normally think Billings is. But Billings is not the rhythm, the calendar, the counting, or the temperature method. This method relies on daily observation of the cervical mucus, which comes from the woman's body. But she just pays attention to the outer part of her reproductive system. It's as simple as that, yes. Right? And also the method is based on, as I said, it's observation, but it can be used during times of stress, during times of illness. Couples can continue to use it during those times, unlike those other methods, right? Because it's, again, very simple, and it's just reliant on the person knowing, well, where I'm at today. Is there cervical mucus present or is it absent? And it's very simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. What's the second myth on Billings?
Myth number 2, it is not very effective and requires a lot of effort.
Okay.
Again, not true.
Okay.
The method, it doesn't require a whole lot of effort because, again, it's very simple. All the woman needs to do is to pay attention. As she's walking around throughout the day, she pays attention to the outside of her reproductive system. She doesn't have to do anything strange. All she has to do is, well, be aware of the cervical fluid, if it's present, if it's absent.
Right.
And if it's not very effective, again, very much not true. Mm-hmm. The method is highly effective. The method is 99% effective, in fact, in the postponement or the avoidance of pregnancy, right? And this has been proven by several international trials to prove that it is highly effective.
Okay, so you said in your myth that it might take a lot of work, but
yeah, that's what the myth is.
But there's also a concept called charting when it is you're doing the Billings ovulation method. Can you share that with our viewers?
Right.
What charting is?
What is charting?
Yes.
Charting is basically as the woman pays attention, what she's paying attention to is both the sensation, if there's a sensation on the outer part of the reproductive system, or if there's any discharge coming from it, what does she see, right? But because even blind people could use the method, right, she doesn't have to see anything. That sensation that she feels as she's walking around throughout the day, or she goes to the bathroom and wipes, and she has a sensation there, that's what she needs to pay attention to. But to remember what she paid attention to, we ask her to put it down on a piece of paper.
Right, right, yes,
right?
Yes.
Or if she wants an app, right? We have a charting application online called Fertility Pinpoint, as well as NFP charting online. So she has options as to where to put those notes. And it's not a whole paragraph.
Yes.
It's not a dictation. It is 2 words that we're asking for.
Yes.
Or she needs to you know, basically know what it is she saw and what it is she felt.
Yes.
So what she felt is a more important observation, and we're going to ask her or the husband, and I prefer the husband do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know why?
Because tell me, yes.
he, just as Dominic was saying earlier, he said that, you know, he knows exactly where Lisa is at.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and in the same way, if he is doing the charting, he will know exactly where she's at.
Yes.
Right? So if the husband can, that's not he has to, but if he can, it will be wise in that the couple are on the same page at the same time,
yes.
knowing. And all they do is, as she goes about the day paying attention, in the night time, before bed, that's when the charting is done.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
And it's simple. As my husband used to say, well, what did you feel? What did you see? Every night.
Yeah.
What did you feel? What did you see?
Yeah.
And he would do the charting.
Yes.
Right? And it's as I said, very simple. But the reason for that, why is there charting, is so that we can see a pattern.
Right.
Because fertility comes in patterns, right? And infertility. So what we're looking for is, what is that particular individual's pattern, right? So as a teacher, I just assist with that. I'm not there in the middle of their married life the whole time.
No.
I am just there to assist and say, well, okay, what is her pattern of infertility and what is her pattern of fertility?
Right.
And once we help them to figure that out, then they go off and practice the method.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. What is the third myth on Billings?
Third myth. Well, people think it's the equivalent to any app online that is related to the menstrual cycle. That is not the case.
Okay, can you repeat that?
They think that it's equivalent to any app online.
Right. I think we need to repeat that because everything has become so technologically based.
Yes.
But go ahead, yes.
Indeed.
Please tell us the fact.
The fact is that it is not like any other app. Why? It is unique in that when a woman pays attention and she's able to chart, she can use our app.
That's what I was going to say. You all have an app. So if you feel like you need to use an app, there's an app available that Pauline is going to repeat right now for you. Can you repeat the app for them?
It's NFP Charting Online.
Right.
NFP Charting Online, as well as there's online charting with Fertility Pinpoint.
Right.
All right?
Okay. So if it is you want to get the name of that app, you can always go on to Billings Ovulation Method Association of Trinidad and Tobago. They have a Facebook page. They can upload that link for you on their Facebook page. If it is you feel like you need to get it and you didn't quite write it down yet. So continue.
They could go to our website and it's right on the very first page.
BillingsTT.com,
right?
Yes.
It's right there. But before going to the app, the reason why our app is different to any other app is because it comes with teaching support. It comes with the support of a teacher who would be able to assist with the charting.
Okay.
So when they go to the app and so forth, no other app, as far as I know, does that or offers that service where you actually have a teacher linked to the app. So they can go on NFP Charting Online, they will find us, right? They'll find my name there as well as Boma TT. And if they go to Fertility Pinpoint, they will find us as well.
Right.
So they have a teacher right here. But if they decide to go to speak to a teacher in Australia, it's their prerogative. They can do that.
Yes.
It's not a problem.
But you make options available, which is important.
Exactly.
You know, you give people options that help them to find their comforts, which is great. I think that's great. You know?
And not just that, when they have a charting application like that with teaching support, if there's something that goes off with their charting, right, they can find out about their reproductive health. Using the charting. With any other app, they don't have that option.
They don't have that option.
They just see what is there and that's it, you know? So there's a major benefit.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Pauline, for sharing that. Of course, you're here with, as I like to call Joe and Joan Ryan. From ever since I met them, I remember saying, Joan and Joseph, Joe and Joe Ryan. That's how I know you guys. Thank you for coming on the show with us. And now, how long have you all been teaching and practicing Billings is my question.
Well, we have been practicing the method for 36 years and teaching it for about 33.
Wow.
But we were introduced to the method 38 years ago in Australia when my husband was studying there. It was introduced to me by a co-worker. And then at that time they referred to it as the mucus method.
Okay.
And then 2 years later, we came back to Trinidad, and I thought, wow, I wonder if I'll ever hear about this method again. And lo and behold, I looked in the Catholic news and learned the Billings ovulation method with Nurse Marian, Marian DeVoe. Well, I jumped to the occasion. We got in touch with her, and we started learning the method.
Yes.
But at this point, I must say, thank God for the late Archbishop Anthony Pantin, because he's the one who brought it to Trinidad and Tobago. And thank you to Dr. Richard Clark, because the, Archbishop Pantin sent Dr. Richard Clark to Australia to get the information, and that is how it became possible for all of us in Trinidad and Tobago. So that good news was available to all of us.
Well, that is certainly good news. And I think along with that, I just want to repeat the fact to our audience that this couple has been practicing Billings for 36 years. Do you know how many things could happen in 36 years? How many ups and how many downs you might have, how many questions you might have. But think about the fact that they have stayed committed. They have actually, made NFP a way of life. They are a living example of NFP being a way of life. So 36 years of practicing this method. My question to you is, in your experience of practicing, have you ever questioned the effectiveness of Billings?
No, we haven't.
No?
I have always been convinced of the scientific reasoning behind Billings. This is why we accepted it straight off hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a veterinarian by profession.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of only if intercourse occurs at a certain time can conception occur
Mm-hmm.
was an easy buy-in for me.
Yes.
So I accepted that, and this method is based basically on that principle that only if intercourse occurs within a certain window in a woman's cycle, that pregnancy can occur. And all we do with this method is teach a woman how to identify when that window is.
Yes.
So this was an easy buy-in for me, and I accepted it, and I know it is a very scientific principle,
Yes.
and it has worked. It works, and it has worked. I have never doubted it.
Okay.
And I always take the opportunity. Anywhere I go, if I have the opportunity, I always tell people about it.
Yes.
When I did some small teaching, I used to teach animal health assistants. My last lecture was always to tell them about Billings.
Yes.
Right? I always put it in wherever I could. I always tell people about it because I know the method works. It is scientifically sound, and it works.
Yes.
The challenges with it is if you don't follow the rules.
Yes. Okay.
Right? And as Lisa and Dominic said about the challenges with abstinence, and it can be a challenge when we talk to people in marriage preparation. Sometimes I tell them, yeah, sometimes you just feel to pelt away the chart and say, I ain't doing this thing.
Thank you. That's what I, that's
But
what.
you come back to it. Joan was very committed.
Yes.
Right? So she will always
Joan is looking at me and she's smiling. She's like,
pull us
yes.
back online,
Yeah.
and we will
I just
get
want to
back
say
in.
thank you to my wonderful husband who supported me all this time. I never ever knew that he ever wanted to throw away the chart because he was so cooperative, and he didn't realize he gave me inner strength. Because when I looked at him, and it's always more difficult for a man to abstain
Yes.
than a woman. And when I looked at him and see how, he held on to that and he followed the rules, it gave me such support and strength.
Yes.
And we have 2 children,
Yes.
the young adults in their 30s. As Pauline was dismissing the myth that Billings couples have lots of children. If you follow the guidelines, then, it becomes easy, and we have 2 children. But we always are open to accept whatever God gives, because children are a gift from God,
Yes.
and it comes from the loving kindness of the heart of God. And if God has a plan for a child, then he knows better than we do.
Yes.
And it's only total abstinence that is the method that you will not get pregnant with.
Yes. On Friday, I had a session with Louis and Glenda Blake, and they actually said that is the blessing of Billings. The fact that, you you have an opportunity to be open to children. And I mean, yes, you are practicing this method, but if it is you able, if it, in a sense where it is you do get pregnant, that is the beauty of Billings. You know, you're open to the gift of children. It's always there. Yes, there's a cycle that you follow and stuff like that, but the beauty is still there to be open to the gift of children. You know, so I met Louis and Glenda, who I believe are Billings ovulation method teachers, or they're not teachers, but they go out and they speak this. They knew the Billings method, like they were able to tell you A to Z with Billings. You know, they were very open in sharing, and I was like, you know, I never looked at it that way. You know, here we are doing this, but at any given time, yes, if something does happen, Billings allows you to be open to the gift of children. When it happens, that's a gift from God, you know. So what encouraged you to stay with NFP? Very basic, simple question.
Basically because it worked.
Basically because it worked. And that's a man's point of view, right? But, you know, to the ladies, you know, men are so straightforward. It works. But to the ladies, you know, what encourages you to stay with the method?
It's a natural method. And these days we go for natural. It's a natural method. And many, many years ago when we got married. Now today, you have all these marriage preparation classes which teach you all about what marriage is meant to be. It's supposed to be free, total, faithful and fruitful. But in our days, we didn't have that training. And we were presented with, the information was there, but that was passed on to us. And we were given this method to use. And so, Mother Church, you know, our Archbishop Gordon was discussing an issue, and he said we must think with the church. And we decided to think with the church. The church is our mother, and a mother always knows what is best for her children. And we didn't understand everything, but we thought with the church, and we followed it out of obedience. And many years later, when I look back, in retrospect, I thank God that we did, and we did the right thing, because Scripture says obedience is better than sacrifice. You know, sometimes when children think of their parents tell them things when they're young, and they don't necessarily agree with their parents, but out of obedience, they do it. And out of obedience to Mother Church, we went along, and now we are reaping the benefits. When Billings came, I said we struck gold. We found a treasure hidden in the field.
Yes. Pauline?
And, well, in the Bible as well, well, when Jesus left us, right, after the resurrection, what he told the disciples was, just going along the train that Joan was going there along Mother Church, that, you know, he has to leave so the Holy Spirit could come, and he will teach us things that he had never taught, right? So I personally believe that the Holy Spirit had led the Billings to discover this method, because honestly it's been a blessing to so many women and couples, right? Yes. So it's not just natural for me, it's empowering.
Yes.
It empowers women, you know, to know what's going on inside their bodies, right? For me, I use it for reproductive health purposes, right? Most of the time, that's what I use it for. And it, to me, you know, I felt hopeful with the Billings use. I felt, you know, as I said, empowered. I knew more than my doctor at times. It's really empowering. But not just as a woman, but for a couple to know, you know, okay, well, we deciding to have a baby tonight, or we're not, right?
Yeah.
And also, well, we share this sometimes with couples in marriage preparation, that even if they want to try for a boy, we can tell them when to try for a boy and when to try for a girl.
Louis and Glenda brought up that, you know, I can't remember exactly, but it's so funny you brought that up too, that you could try for a boy and you could try for a girl.
Yeah, if they want to, right?
Yes.
Now, the thing is, a lot of people say, well, you know, you're planning, you know, planning, but it is good to plan, just how you plan for, you know, your work life and your school life, and it's good to plan. So, I mean, yeah, a pleasant surprise is always welcome, but a child is just not a little surprise.
Yes.
A child affects your life, your parents' life, your family life, your neighborhood life. You understand? A child affects many. So and your finances in particular. So you have to you know, well, not have to, but it would be wise to plan. So this is why the method, I think, is empowering, right? And not just that, it is love. It is love because, well, one of the studies we like to quote is one from Chicago where they found people who practice natural family planning, the divorce rates were 0.2%, and people who practice natural family planning. So we're like, wow, but when you look at other studies, none of them went over 5% with divorce rates. So I'm like, the rest of society is 50% and getting higher and higher with divorce rates. So honestly, this must have something good for relationships and for couples, so it augurs well for relationships. But really and truly, the couple, if they work with it together, it's a beautiful thing in their relationship, and it keeps the couple together.
Yes.
You know?
Well, that's what Lisa and Dominic shared. Remember, they said that it takes them to a different level of intimacy, and you really have to get to know your spouse other than just table talk. You know, you're getting to know your spouse, what's happening in their bodies, and you know, how's my husband reacting to this, you know, that sort of stuff, where you are getting to know each other in a way that, you know, they don't tell you, people don't tell you those things unless you try NFP. You know, this is the benefits of it. We become closer, we fall in love with each other every single day. Maybe when you're chatting, you get to know, wow, I've never known this about you, that sort of stuff. So love.
The chatting is one of it, part of it, The chatting is part of it, but the chatting is, you know, it goes beyond that.
I know it goes beyond that, but it's just like chatting is like, you know, it's routine. But in routine, you discover new things, your beauty, you discover things that you just, oh wow, okay, well that never happened. I learned something about my wife today, or I learned something about my husband today. You know, so it's a physical way of getting things done in Billings. So it helps to bring up stuff. It just came to my head. But I really seeing Billings now, and not just a method. It's a way of life. It's how we love each other. It's how husband and wife empower one another. And Dr. Joseph, you were going to say something. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you know, my first answer was because it worked. Right. But to add to that, when I found out all the side effects of those artificial methods that were being pushed, right, it was very clear to me that I would not have been comfortable for my spouse to be using any of those artificial methods to postpone pregnancy. So my buy-in was because it's a good scientific method that works, and it is a safe method, because remember that with Billings ovulation method, you could decide at any time that, now is the time we will try to have a child, right? And you would have done no harm
to the other
person, to the wife's reproductive system, right? So that's one of the
You're
key
willing
things.
the good for the other.
Yes. And I would just like to share this. Throughout our childbearing years, you know, we used it to become pregnant and to postpone a pregnancy. And I can tell you, to use it to become pregnant is even more exciting than using it to avoid. Because you can work it out right in it. You can work out better than the doctor when your baby is due. And so we use it during breastfeeding, menopausal years, and now for us, for me, reproductive health is the key thing now. Because I'm no longer cycling, so you have to be aware of that, because at our age now, you know, cancers and all sorts of things can emerge, and you have to be aware of your, you know, your secretions, your body, and know what is going on. And you can pick that up before a doctor. You can go to a doctor and say, look, I've noticed this, and then investigate.
I mean, it's just like if it is you see in your body that, you know, you may be putting on weight, or, you know, something is happening or changing in your body, and you do things to prevent that. Billings is the same thing, you know, you monitor yourself and you track yourself, and you, just like you would, you know, realize, okay, well, something isn't right. It's just understanding your reproductive nature, you know, and willing the good for yourself, you know, and when you have a spouse who wills the good for you as well, everything will tend to work out, you know. So, Joan, you...
Yes. I want to say, going back to having a child through Billings, out of love comes alive. And
yes.
a life is a gift from God. It's
Yes.
so beautiful. So with this method, the gift of a child, and as Pauline was speaking about the Holy Spirit, we bring forth the fruit of a child, but this method helps us bring forth the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, self-control,
Yes.
especially self-control. If I haven't said all, well, all the gifts of the Spirit, all the fruits of the Spirit, we bear fruit. And isn't that what we're in life for? To bear the fruit of the Spirit and to be a more loving person to one another, to the whole world, until we meet our Creator.
So we have a few minutes left in the show again, and I want to give you all an opportunity, for you all to just share with all the couples that are out there, whether they are young couples, older couples, trying couples, not trying couples, married persons, what advice can you give them in relation to Billings?
Right. Well, there are three things you would like everyone to remember when it comes to Billings.
Yes.
One, it's natural. It does no harm to your body, right? You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to go to the pharmacy. It's completely natural, right?
Yes.
And everybody's into, well, gluten-free and natural
and organic, and this is organic,
This is as organic as you get.
Yes.
And then another thing I want them to remember is empowerment, right? Empowerment for couples, empowerment for families, empowerment for women, right? This is true empowerment. As they say, I'm not into women's rights kind of thing, but this is really, a woman has to have that right to know what's going on in her body. And I firmly believe that this is a right that women should have. And then the last thing I want people to remember is that Billings is about love. It's about love. That's our little tagline, this method is love.
Yes.
And that came from a woman who was listening to Dr. John Billings after, I think it was in Africa, after listening to him talk about Billings and what it does for, what it is. She just stood up and said, this method is love. And she left. And that's where we got the tagline from, because it really augurs well for relationships in that you have to take the time to not just love your own body and self, but you have to take the time to get to love the person who you're practicing it with, right?
Yeah,
and so this method is love. This method is about, as I said, as Dr. Ryan said just now, about not putting things in your body or having your wife put things in her body that may eventually harm her. Yeah, so this method is love.
Yeah, I mean, when parts of being, when you get married and stuff like that, you want the best for the other person. You don't just, like, as I said before, you don't just exist anymore. You have someone that's there. And if it is you really love this person, you would want only the best for this person, because you love yourself and you want only the best for you. So that's what marriage is about: loving the other person, wanting the best for the other person, knowing that that other person is taken care of. And NFB Billings does that for you. It does that for the couple, that it helps the couple to understand that I am taking care of you and you are taking care of me, and we are on this journey together. And yes, sometimes it may be a bit challenging. My husband is the person with the photocopied charts. I must admit, it's so funny, like the men have this whole routine thing down. And I am the one who has to continuously remember to tell him, because we are trying to practice NFP. And, I have to admit that it is quite refreshing. It brings up a lot of conversation in our house. We talk about things that, they just don't tell you before, So I have to say NFP is very refreshing. Billings is very refreshing. The information is so empowering, because when you have knowledge, you have power. So, you're able to connect. And it is something that I have learned to love my spouse for, and my spouse loves me for as well. So BOMA, TT, I know has a lot of different things coming up. We have a couple minutes again. Can you just share with us some of the things, the events that Billings have in store for
Right. We have a Mass for Hope and Healing coming up on the 8th of May in San Fernando and on the 10th of May in Port of Spain. So in San Fernando on the 8th of May, it will be at 6 p.m. is the Mass at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. There will be confessions before as well as a video. On the 10th of May at the Cathedral, the Mass will be at 5 p.m. Confessions available from 4 p.m. and we have the video before as well. There'll be items on sale at both masses to assist with hope and healing. Of course, this is for women who have and couples who have gone through infertility or being told they can't have children, people who have lost their babies in the womb or otherwise, and basically those people suffer. Right? And they come to us to get some hope, and they sometimes do get that hope. After 7 years of trying and being told that you can't have, they have. So they need to hear about us as well, but they also need that healing for couples, especially who've had losses of babies. And the other thing we're having, other than the masses, is the for young people, we have Let's Talk About ... and of course ... is sex. So we're going to talk about sex because young people need to hear, you know, the truth versus all the lies and the myths that they, you know, are exposed to in our society.
Yes, and where is this going to be held?
This will be in Curab at Our Lady of Fatima. There's a small parish hall from 6 to 9 p.m. It's just a $20 contribution. You get refreshments with that. But there'll be a panel discussion, question and answer. There'll be presentations. It's going to be really impactful, and we invite all young people to come because you can ask as many questions. Anything you want to ask, we will answer. All right?
And the date.
And it's on the Friday, the 11th of May.
Right. So just to go over that, there would be a Mass for Hope and Healing, right? And there would also be a Let's Talk About ... and as Pauline said, SEX, for young people on May the 11th. Now, if you want information on both of these events, you can always check out the Family Life Commission's page, as well as BOMA TT. There is a Facebook page, and there is also, I believe, Twitter and Instagram. So you could check out all their social media handles, and you will get all the information. Also, if you would like to call, if people would like to call because they're interested in learning the method, how can they reach you?
384-1659. We're on WhatsApp as well.
So if you don't feel like calling and you just want to send a message, because you know sometimes it could be a bit intimidating, you could always WhatsApp Pauline. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and Dominic and Lisa, of course, they are watching, and I would like to thank Pauline and Joan and Joseph for coming on the show today with us. Thank you for sharing your information and making this as real as possible and allowing couples to really connect with the material. You know, developing new lifestyles can always be a bit difficult. You know, keeping a habit could always be difficult. But I think when we have people like you out there ministering to others about how real and how personal you could make this method, it's not just a task. Don't make it a job. You know, this is your life. And I think when we have people like you ministering to people, it makes our society a much better place. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you do. Please continue to do all the hard work. I know it must not be easy. There are a lot of challenges, but don't worry, as Joan rightfully said, they are reaping the benefits. So we just want to thank you, and we just want to thank our viewers, and please have a wonderful night. Take care.